Hello, I'm Nola and welcome to my channel. Today is Wednesday, April the 9th, 2025. And today I am here to acknowledge a follower's question about finding the courage to relocate after personal loss. And that is the purpose of this video. I did promise her that I would answer the question. I decided let me just say that I lost my husband in 2021 after a long series of different health issues. So he fought cancer for 14 years and then was in remission, and then it came back, and then he had some other issues after that. The last 7 years of his life were difficult. And then we had COVID, we had the COVID crisis. And part of me, in retrospect, was it was a difficult time for everyone, and I don't want to make light of it. But as I said, in retrospect, when I look back, I'm glad for those years because I got to spend a whole lot of time with him, and that was a good thing. You know, many of us were not leaving our homes, and we were only doing what was necessary. We were seeing very few people, and then he got really ill and was hospitalized. He was in and out of hospital for a while. And then when he got well and I thought that he would be coming home, he suddenly passed away on a Sunday morning. And that, to be really honest, I knew that he didn't have long to live. And I was trying to prepare myself. And it did not happen in the way that I thought it would happen, meaning his passing. It happened when I least expected it. It came so suddenly, and I was shattered. To be really and truly honest, I had a wonderful husband, a good, kind, gentle soul that never had a bad word to say about anyone. And I had the best years of my life with him. So it was a massive loss. Or the little face you see in the background is part of the reason that I'm still here. That is my doggy Finn. His name is Finnegan. He is a Frenchton, meaning he's 50% French Bulldog and 50% Boston Terrier. I rescued him. He's 7 years old now. My late husband and I rescued him when he was 8 months old, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, but I digress. So I wanted to answer the question of the purpose of the video. And so you know that I lost my, husband. It was very unexpectedly. And so we were not people that believed in big funerals. We had made all of our arrangements way in advance, about 20 years prior. Because as my late husband's name is Don, and he would say that there were three kinds of people that showed up to funerals. Those that loved you and really cared about you, which were very few. Those that come and see how you are acting or taking it. And then the third kind, they came to come and assuage their guilt. The ones that come running in, crying, and then they collapse over the casket. Okay, so we chose that we would have absolutely nothing. We were not religious by any stretch of the imagination, although I was deeply spiritual. He was a bona fide scientist, and he was show me the details, show me the proof. So it was quite an interesting marriage and an interesting time. So it came to the time to move out of the house and get rid of all of our personal belongings, a lot of his personal belongings. And that was such a painful thing for me to do. And my husband was a giver. If he felt that he had too much, he would share with everyone. And so when I was downsizing, and it was time to say goodbye to most of his clothes, I saved a few shirts that I sleep in and so on, of his. When they came to pick up, when the charitable organization came to pick up his stuff, I absolutely fell apart. And I gave them sooner than later because we believe that you don't store up things. You give them while someone can still use them and they're still fashionable and in style. And so I'm sure the men that received those things were really, really pleased. And I initially, I went to visit a cousin, spent a few months with her in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And she has been one of the most supportive people to me. I have been fortunate to have about 8 people in my life that truly stood by me and continue to stand by me through thick and thin. And I also went to therapy, not in person. And throughout my life, I'd been to therapy off and on. But the spinal therapist that I had was a male, and he did a lot of my grief counseling with me over the telephone. And it was one of the best experiences that I ever had. I felt heard. And I felt seen, I felt understood, and he allowed me to process my grief in the immediate aftermath. Don passed in November, and I started to go to therapy probably almost a year later. And I was fortunate to land at the desk of this fabulous therapist. So I need everyone to know that nobody gets over the passing of anyone. I've lost several people in my life whom I was close to, even my parents, a sister, very close friends. And you don't get over, you learn how to cope. And I miss Don in every single way imaginable. You know, I would complain about the splatters of toothpaste up in the mirror in the bathroom because he was a tall man and he brushed his teeth. And today I would give just about anything to have those splatters of toothpaste back on the mirror. And the way that he rubbed his hands when he was putting lotion on himself. I miss all of those sounds, the sounds of his little snores beside me. Just so many things. So I also went to college with a girl who was Dutch. And we remained friends for over 40 years. And in the summer of 2023, she invited me to come and visit her. And I did. And I'd been here to the Netherlands as a young woman, very young. And I've been fortunate to have traveled pretty extensively. And I've spent a lot of time in Europe. So I really liked Europe a lot. Did I ever think that I would live in the Netherlands? No. I think I've said in a previous video that my late husband and I thought that someday we would move to Portugal, but that didn't happen. So after I came and visited my friend and I saw as an adult now how people lived, you know, one of the ladies, one of her friends had a birthday party and we were invited on a Tuesday afternoon. I will never forget. 2:00. Everyone standing around and sitting around having champagne and eating and talking and just having a wonderful time. And I thought, everyone that I know at home is still at work. And of course, after my husband passed away about November, about March, I decided that I needed to go back to work. I moved back from Colorado Springs after about 2.5 or 3 months, and I decided to go back to work to keep myself sane because there were days that I could barely get out of bed. And thank goodness for my little Finnegan behind me, whom I brought with me to the Netherlands. And if anyone wants to know how that is done, I'll be happy to speak to you about that. Just for a little more clarity, I've made 2 other videos. The first one, I believe, was moving to a new country in your 60s. And then the other one was how it feels to be an African-American woman living in the Netherlands. So this is where this particular question came from. How did I find the energy and the courage to leave everything that I'm so accustomed to and move to the Netherlands? And so it's a little long-winded, I know, but I just wanted to give you a little more of a background. So I was here over the summer for 3 weeks, and I saw how the people here lived. And the place is so beautiful. Yes, in America, we've got plenty of beautiful, beautiful places. There are beautiful places all around the world. But that was my experience in that summer. It was warm. There were tulips everywhere. There were wonderful street fairs. I witnessed the gay and lesbian parade, and everybody took part. Even policemen were on those floats. And I was so impressed by the quality of life. And nobody worked more than 24 hours a week. And they had enough. They don't have enormous houses or big fancy cars. I'm not saying that none of them do, but the people that I know and the people that I visited, and I got to be thinking that I was just existing. And even then I had 2 cats that were elderly, and one of them had to have him put down because he had cancer, and I knew in the beginning that I should not have had him have this surgery, but I was holding on to everything that was still familiar, trying to hold on to the shreds of my life. And so eventually I had to have him put down. And then our cat, Mozart, he had been battling thyroid disease for a long time, and there was nothing that could be done for him anymore. And a month before I moved to the Netherlands, I had to have him put to sleep. So that was very, very difficult because it was a cat that came to my husband and I, both those cats, and we loved them dearly. And Owie, the one who had cancer, adored Finnegan. And prior to Finnegan, we had 2 dogs who raised the cats. So I was telling you about what I saw and what I felt. And I thought, about changing my life. I didn't immediately think that I was going to move to the Netherlands, no. I thought that I needed to change my life. I needed to, because all I was doing, I was literally going to work and going home. Going to work, stopping at Publix, picking up stuff, going home, picking Finnegan up from daycare, taking him home, and starting the whole thing all over. I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning and walking because I was trying to, clear my mind and decide what I was going to do with the rest of my life. Because some of the people that we knew, many had passed away, and some of the other widows that I know spent their lives taking care of their grandchildren and catering to their children. And Don and I also had friends that had moved from across the country to be closer to their children and grandchildren. And when they did that, their children could barely give them the time of day because they were young. They had lives of their own. And so some of those people moved away again. So I didn't want to be part of that, you know. And that September of 2023 is when I had the vision of my ancestors going right by my bedroom window. And I knew that I needed to face the gift and the calling that I've always had. But I also knew very shortly after that I was going to move to the Netherlands. It was a very, very difficult decision for me to make. And I knew that there was no moving on. I knew that there was no getting over, but I had to move forward with my life. I was fairly young. I was barely 60 when my husband passed away. And I felt that the time had come for me to do some of the things that I wanted to do because I've done a lot of caretaking throughout my life. And so that is what helped me to embrace the change. I also meditated a lot. I also asked for signs from the universe, put out so many fleeces, so to speak. Please, God, show me this. Spirit, show me that if I'm meant to do this, show me this. Let someone give me holly. I'll never forget because, holly. And I was still digging around and someone had given me a gift and I was keeping it until Christmas. And I kept waiting for the sign of holly or mistletoe to show up. And I put my little gift, just a little gift under the tree. And lo and behold, God, the Spirit works in mysterious ways, my friend. I've always been obsessed with owls. Just love them. And in this little box, came a Christmas wrapped in this little box. The paper was holly, the little sprig of mistletoe on the top, and inside the box was this globe of an owl, and I got my answer. So I started to seriously get all my affairs in order and line up the paperwork and so on and so forth. It took a lot of courage. And the person that asked the question asked me how I found the question. Also asked me, what will happen if this fails? Darlings, this cannot fail. As women, we are resourceful. We are strong when we are not expected to be. It was Eleanor Roosevelt that said, the former First Lady, Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, that said, a woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until you put her in hot water. And it was my heart's desire to change my life. And so in February of last year, I moved to the Netherlands. And I brought my dog. I have some stuff in storage, some of the things that I couldn't part with, family pictures, a few heirlooms, stuff that was precious to my late, husband, things that belonged to our son, who still lives in America, and we have twin boys that will be 3 in August, and they are adorable. And they lived a long way away from me, and so there was nothing, I could not go and impose upon them, upon him and his wife, you know. So I had to find my own way and choose a new path for myself. This cannot fail for me. I have grown to love it here. If you watch a couple of the other videos, I have explained, you know, how difficult it was for me to adjust, and how difficult it was for me to come to this decision, because I went home in October and I stayed for 3 months because I thought that I'd made a mistake. But within 3 or 4 weeks of being there, I also had to tie up some business. I knew that I was going to return. And so I came back in December, and I'm adjusting a little differently than when I first came. It was really difficult. It is difficult. Make no mistake about that. It's not something that I entered into lightly. It's not anything that you should enter into lightly. And if you read, if you look at the other videos that I've put out there, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I've been really in-depth about the paperwork and how you could do this too, if you so wish. I have been very methodical. I've given a lot of information. I don't clickbait on my titles, and I always try to be authentically myself and true. Not a day goes by that I don't think about my late husband. I don't miss my friends and my family. Think about the grandkids. Miss my fellow Americans. So if you are in a similar situation and you don't know which way to go, really question your heart and ask Spirit, because I'm going to tell you, if doors are meant to open for you, you will not have to fling yourself up against those doors. They will automatically open and you will go through. Some people like to make it a lot more difficult, make it sound a lot more difficult than it actually is. And if you are resilient and you are independent and you are looking to rebrand, as the kids say, right? If you're looking to rebrand yourself, consider maybe not leaving the country, but moving to another state. You know, and I encourage you, as I did in the prior videos, to really question your motivation for doing so, because my mother had a saying, wherever you go, there you'll be. So if you think you're going to run away from problems and bad habits and all kinds of things, it's not that easy, because you will still have to deal with yourself. So I am of the ilk that does not believe that anyone dies. I just believe that they go beyond the veil. The soul lives on. The body is simply an envelope for the soul. And if you feel your loved one around you, if you smell cigarette smoke or perfume, or hear a song, or find things, it is them talking to you. And please, if you have any more questions, don't be shy to ask. I will answer you. I really will. And I want to thank my audience, thank my subscribers, and those of you that watch. If you have found any value in what I have to say, would you please consider liking, subscribing, sharing? It will help someone perhaps who's also trying to find their path, their way. And of course, it will help my channel to grow, obviously. So please remember to be kind. Everyone is dealing with something we know nothing about, and be kind to yourself. And I always feel, and I've always felt that Spirit has always had my best interests. Yes, I've had to make choices because I've had free will and choice, but I've always been divinely guided. And also, after my husband passed, it gave me the courage to start this channel and to do what I'm doing now. So if you're suffering from loss of a loved one, be it a child, a spouse, a pet, I'm so sorry for your loss. Take good care of yourself and find a good support system. Some people will desert you because they will feel that you're too depressed and that you're crying all the time, but there will be other people that will love you and support you through it all. And when all else fails, seek a therapist. And if the first one doesn't suit you, get another one until you find the person that will hear you and see you. Until the next time, do take care. This has been a busy week. The world, we've seen so many changes since last Friday, and Spirit has given me so many downloads, so I've been posting more frequently than I normally do. So until Saturday, take care of yourself. And to my subscriber that asked for this, I hope you appreciate this. If you have any more questions, if I wasn't clear about something, to all of you, and to you who is seeking, I'm here to answer your questions. Until the next time, bye for now.